Hello again, and welcome to What's Next, Friend, where I talk all about how I served 30 years in the Air Force and what I'm doing next. So the last video I made a long time ago, I made it like from the Four Seasons. It was nice and fabulous. I was so excited to move and everything. My furniture was supposed to be delivered that Friday. Here we are. A whole 2-3 weeks later, and my furniture is just now going to be delivered today. So I figured while I'm waiting on the movers, they say they'll be here in 30 minutes, I could go ahead and do the next card. My next assignment was my command assignment, where I was the commander of the 318th Recruiting Squadron. We recruited officers and health professionals for the Air Force for the entirety of the Northeast and Europe. And Harrisburg is the card I'm going to read from Jasmine. Okay, she says, "Oh, the COVID times. I actually have some of the fondest memories of Harrisburg. Let me stop right there. So Harrisburg is where I live. The assignment was out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and Harrisburg is the capital. They're really, really close to each other, so that's why it's Harrisburg. Anyway, okay. So that's also where COVID happened. Anyway, so the burger spot down the street, the Cuban place. Oh my gosh, they had a great Cuban place in my neighborhood. Your 100 miles a month challenge with Alex, being a member of the YMCA for 45 seconds. So the 100-mile thing, when COVID happened, I think I did it for 3 months, May, June, and July. I tried to run 100 miles, which was easy to do during those times. Being a member of the YMCA for 45 seconds, I kid you not, we went to join the YMCA on January 6th. January 6th. So we get there, we were like, oh, they're giving us a tour, and then all this news starts coming out, and we just walked away. we never did anything else with that membership. Oh, wait a minute. Am I off? Lord. Oh, no, I'm good. Okay. And so, yeah, that was the 45 seconds. Anyway, so the Amish, these are all the things. She says, I'm gonna read the card all over again. Y'all have to forgive me. I'm having a hot flash, and I'm trying to do this really quickly before the movers come. So let me just go ahead. Okay. I'm gonna read the card through its entirety, and then if there's anything I need to add, I will add it at the end. Sorry about this, y'all. Anyway, so the COVID times, I actually have some of the fondest memories of Harrisburg. The burger spot down the street, the Cuban place, your 100 miles a month challenge with Alex, being a member of the YMCA for 45 seconds, the Amish market, me trying to teach myself ASL and French at the same time for no reason at all. It was fun watching you lead there. I'll never forget picking up roller skating and practicing in your office, taking naps in that ridiculously comfy couch in your office too. The way you can transform a space and make it feel like home, whether it's base housing or an office in the middle of Pennsylvania, is always something I admired. Watching you build connections as a leader there, consciously and subconsciously, shaped the leader that I am today, and the one I'm still becoming. So that's Jasmine's memories of Harrisburg. I absolutely loved my time there in Harrisburg, despite living through the pandemic, despite the things that happened at my change of command ceremony. And so I took command in June of 2019. I'm super excited. You know, one thing about me is when I joined the Air Force or when I became an officer, I never really had like those dreams of wanting to be a squadron commander. Like I was like, my focus, as I've said before, has been, and my service has been to create a life for my daughter that was better than mine, that was filled with opportunities that I knew being an officer and the financial status that came with that would be able to provide for her. So that was always my focus. I was always gonna do a good job because my mama raised me that way, and my mama was in the military. I understood how to survive and how to make it because my mama, and being an officer was not a whole lot different than her survival. But in terms of like, oh, I just want to be a commander, I want to be this, I want to be that, those were not the goals I had. I did have goals when I first joined, but I wanted to be in radio and television broadcasting. Like that was the big thing that I really wanted to do in the military. Other than that, I was just trying to do well enough so that I could continually have a record of performance that would allow me to get promoted to advance financially to provide for my child. Those were my goals. I say all that to say that when I was selected to be a commander, it was very overwhelming, and I took it very, very seriously, because I think you should. And so I had my change of command ceremony, and it was a bit of a controversy, because it was in 2019, and I was taking command from someone, and during the change of command ceremony, it was kind of lackadaisical. The guy I was taking over from was a very different leader than me, and led the team very differently. And so during the ceremony, it was a lot of, it didn't go as seriously as I thought it should have gone. Long story short, he wound up, as I'm taking the flags, playing whatever with his son, and they're doing like little hand symbols or whatever. He winds up throwing up some sort of symbol that's tied to white nationalism, white supremacy, yada, yada, yada. It gets picked up. It goes all over the Facebook, what is it called? Airman and NCO page. They're roasting me, they're roasting him. People are coming in to defend him. Oh, he's not a racist. Other people are like, oh, hell no, why dare would he do that in front of as a black woman's taking command, and blah, blah, blah. So it was a big, big thing for my change of command. I think the New York Times even wrote a snippet of it, and my best friend, who's coming today, she's coming to Chicago today, my best friend was actually quoted in there talking about, whether or not, regardless if the symbol was harmless and he was playing with his kid, he was not taking it seriously when you're standing in front of a black woman handing over command of an organization to another organization. So I say all that to say that I entered into this command position, super pumped. I read all these leadership books, wanted to make sure I understood the best way that I could be myself authentically and lead this team, because their success was more important than anything to me. Come in, go in, take this change of command. 24 hours later, I am getting calls from the legal team. I'm getting calls from reporters. I'm getting calls from all my friends like, oh my God, are you on Facebook? Do you need to get rid of Facebook? And so I was not really active on Facebook at that point, but I knew that my squadron had a page and all the recruiters had a page. And so I was like on Facebook periodically just for work. But I will tell you that when I left command, I immediately deactivated Facebook and haven't seen it since. And that was like 2021. So that was the onset of the taking command. It was interesting because I was so excited, so happy. But like I said, 24 hours later, I was like in tears talking to my mom, and I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, if I would have known that this type of scrutiny, this type of infamy was going to come from me just trying to do my job, and all these people were going to come attacking me, or people were in the squad. And it was so weird because the person I took command from was so well loved. Everybody loved him in that squadron, so that the people in the squadron thought I had something to do with this whole hubbub. Like, they thought that I was circulating the picture and I was trying to disparage this person. Meanwhile, I am literally fighting for my life. I'm just trying to do this job and do it well. I had to have a meeting. I called my mom. I was crying. I was like, Mama, I don't want to do this. I want to quit. I got 20 some odd years, blah, blah, blah. I can retire. I don't need this, blah, blah, blah. And I'll never forget, my mama said, did I raise you to be a quitter? She said, have you ever quit anything in your life? She said, dry your tears, cry if you need to, but you show them who you are. I would never forget it. So that's what I did. I was upset, I was crying, but I had a meeting with my leadership team, and I basically explained, I said, we are not going to give any energy or legs to this. We're not commenting, we're not talking about it, we're not engaging. I had nothing to do with it. That man is dealing with it. I will do the things that I need to do legally, but we're gonna move on as a squadron. So let's go. I hit the ground running. That happened like on a Thursday or a Friday. That next week I was out visiting all of the flight offices, because we had flight offices in Pittsburgh and Detroit and New York, Boston, North Carolina. So I just went out and physically went to all of these places to meet the people there, just to get myself out there. And I also credit my mom with that transition, but I also credit Chief Corps I love Chief Corps. He was my chief when I got in command. And Chief Corps, to me, embodied everything you wanted in your chief. He was personable, he was smart, he was loyal. He's still alive. Let me not say was, because once a chief, always a chief. Chief Corps is smart. Chief Corps is loyal. Chief Corps is passionate. Chief Corps is the voice of reason. Like, he actually took me up and said, ma'am, Mama said, don't quit. I didn't quit. And Chief Corps said, these people are talking and they think that you had something to do with them. Go show them who you are. So between Chief Corps and my mom, I was able to turn this, what I consider to be a terrible way to take command, into something that motivated me to, be the best and do the best and all that kind of stuff. So that's what happened. Change of command was a shit show, but it, motivated me to get out there and do the things. So I get out there. Some of the flights, visited all the flights that were around, chatted with everyone, started conducting interviews, because when I took command, we were recruiting officers to go to officer training school, OTS, the commissioning source that I went to. So we have people that go to OTS that are straight from civilian sector, meaning that there's somebody who has a college degree that wants to join the Air Force but has no prior Air Force or military experience. So they have to get an interview with the commander, squadron commander, and I was doing those interviews. When I first started, I had to do all of the interviews because none of the other squadron commanders were doing it. It wasn't really important to them. Recruiting is interesting. Let me just say that. So very goal oriented, obviously. There's goals for every single quarter and fiscal year and all that kind of stuff. And so my squadron were responsible for officers and health professionals, and the other commanders in my group were concerned with enlisted. And so when I first started, they weren't really interested or cared about doing interviews for officer sessions because it didn't really affect their bottom line. But I will say that by the time we left, all of the squadron commanders were doing those interviews, which I think, it wasn't a push from me. I'm pretty sure it was a push from the top that said, hey, you need to be interested in who's joining your officer corps as an officer. It's one of your duties, blah, blah, blah. So by the end, everybody was doing it. I say all that to say that I was out on the road visiting all of the flights, and I was also conducting interviews. So I would go to the flights. I would have some of the interviews in person. I would have some of the interviews on FaceTime while we were driving around. Chief Corps was taking me around. It was an interesting time. But also for my command, COVID happened. I wasn't even in command a year when COVID happened, and it changed everything, as you can imagine. Only in the ways in which we kind of communicated with each other, maybe not communicate is the best word, only in the ways in which we connected with each other. That's a better word. Because my squadron was so far out, it was literally so spread out. My area of operation was the entire group's operation, so we didn't have a whole lot of times where we could be together fully as a squadron anyway. But during COVID, when COVID happened, we had to find interesting ways to just communicate with each other, because if you recall, when it first happened, we didn't really know what was going on. I was when everything got locked down and they closed the borders and everything, I was actually in Europe doing a recruiting blitz, an information blitz that we were doing with the Air Force Academy, and we were visiting all these different schools, talking to them, and we were also interviewing people who wanted to either be a nurse, medical, dental, or OTS. So we had this big blitz that we were doing 2 weeks in Europe. We had to cut it short because COVID happened. So we come back to our squadron's respective units, right? And nobody knows what's going on. It's, don't wear a mask unless you're, unless you're not feeling well. So we get on the plane, nobody has on masks. Get back, everybody needs to be masked up regardless if you're feeling well or not. There was a whole lot of the information, it was so new. And and ground truth was changing, and the administration that was in charge of America at the time was and is not the best, not the most forthcoming or the most honest. So there was a lot of like things that were going on, contradicting things. So me and my team were like, okay, we're gonna have, until we get this things under control, we're gonna have daily messages. And essentially the Air Force Recruiting Command would have like daily meetings with leadership to kind of talk about what's going on, what we need to do to protect our people, how do we continue this mission of recruiting when we can't physically go to places. Now the enlisted folks, the people who were recruiting enlisted had a little bit different than we did, because we were so used to like dealing with people like professional settings. So we hardly would go to like mass things. It would be like one-on-ones with specific students or people who are trying to become in the medical career field. And then in terms of the interviews for OTS, we could do those like virtually. So it wasn't a big change for us in terms of how we recruited, but still, we needed to make sure that our personnel were safe and the public that we were interacting with was safe. And so we would have these daily meetings. I would then go ahead and like synthesize those daily meetings and make sure every single day I was communicating with the leaders of my team and making sure I was communicating with the whole squadron. Here's the information that I know. This is what I know. I am telling you everything that I know at this point. This is a very, very fluid situation. Information is changing as we learn more about it. So I was trying to be very, very communicative from my position and from my foxhole, just so there would be no like, oh, we don't know what's going on and such and such and such and such, and I have no idea. Also, another good thing was we had the ability as squadron commanders to like make some specific decisions about how we're going to lead these teams. Like I had people that had kids that were, joint custody with kids, and the kids were like, they couldn't have their kids when they were supposed to. So I was able to kind of make some concessions for people to have them recruit out of certain places that was best for their families, which was a nice thing to be able to do. Having situations where we could work from home, which we didn't really do specifically. I don't recall if we did it a lot, but once COVID happened, I saw productivity increase, especially people who were either single parents or people who worked better at night. Some people just were night owls and whatever. And so the ability to kind of work from home and transition everything to public safety and public health first was a good thing. So I was very communicative. Once we started getting more information and kind of understood the way the disease was, I kind of ratcheted down the communication to like once a week, every Friday. I would have like newsletters, articles, some like think pieces, things that were on my mind. I did it for like the first couple months, and I transitioned to like the entire leadership team. Had chief do some, first sergeant do some, the director of operations do some. So COVID was a very communicative time. Okay, so COVID happens. I'm in Europe. I come back. Jasmine's in Portland. Oh my gosh, Mom, what's happening? She decides to come to me to lock down. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jazz, I need 2 weeks to quarantine. What if I got it while I was in Europe? And she's like, oh my God. So she stayed with Alex for, I think, a week or a few days. And then she came to me. And then what wound up happening, it was me, Jasmine, and Alex were kind of all three in my 2-bedroom apartment in Harrisburg, just like bugging it out through COVID. It was kind of interesting to see, because Jasmine was working on she was still at Wyden and Kennedy at the time, and she was working like on a Facebook ad where they did the pots and pans, and we would hear like pots and pans, and she's doing the edit for this Facebook commercial. And then Alex is an engineer, and he had like 3 different screens with all these wires, like these like lines and stuff. So he had his stuff going on, and then I'm on phone calls with like going over like the enlisted promotion distribution stuff. It was just a really interesting time, an interesting mix of like professions for us, but it was cool. Me, Jasmine, and Alex thugging it out during the pandemic. But yeah, so that was Harrisburg. A lot of other things happened during Harrisburg. Black Lives Matter, January 6th, which I chatted about a little bit before. Now, the diversity and inclusion thing, I might do just a whole video on just that and what it meant for me as a commander in a position of leadership, and kind of how I chose to handle that situation. You'll find, if you're a Black person in the military and there's any sort of resiliency training or diversity training or DEI or what is it called, equal opportunity training, they're gonna look to the nearest Black person in the room, expect you to stand up and speak on behalf of the subject matter, which is lazy. But anyway, I will have a whole another video. I'll earmark that and do a video about my time and what it meant for me to do that for DEI. I will say the open up. During the pandemic, there was a really weird sect of people who were like, I want to be able to get my hair cut. This lockdown is stupid, blah, 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 blah. So because I was in Harrisburg, like literally a block from the Capitol, there were tons of like open the city up marches with weird people with Confederate flags and Trump flags and guns hanging off the back of their truck demanding that the lockdown be over. Strange behavior, but telling times. But again, I'll talk to you. I'll have a whole nother video that's just basically DEI. All right, 2 years there. I leave June of 2021. A better person. Some of the best people I have ever met in the military I met during that assignment. Chief Corps being one. LV being another, Lamar Valentina, a remarkable human being. You know, those are some of the big ones. And then, you know, like Mark McCall, he's a good guy. Who else? So many people. Well, I don't want to say so many people, but people. Anyway, so that was Harrisburg. If you have any questions or if you want me to dig into something else that I kind of touched on, happy to do so. But we are waiting for furniture. So the next video I do, hopefully I will have my things. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I will chat with you next time. Bye.